Hey guys, Rocky here. Wanted to do another video. Just wanted to change things up a little bit, do something a little different. What I've got here this time is it's going to be a demonstration of Microsoft Flight Simulator and some of the equipment that I got here that I use with the Flight Simulator. The Flight Simulator is actually one of the better ones that I've seen. There may be better ones out there, but they'd be a lot more money. This one here wasn't that expensive. Fairly impressive in terms of reality, in terms of the clouds and all that stuff, flying through clouds and everything, and the weather. It actually downloads weather. You can have it download the weather every 15 minutes, the actual real weather from whatever airport you're supposedly flying from, and you get to choose that when you go into the flight sim. You pick your airport, time of day, and all that stuff. You can actually sync it up so it's exactly real time, almost like real time. Like I said, the weather's updates every 15 minutes. The time will be accurate. Your sunset, sunrise, and all that will be accurate depending on your geographical location that you've chosen to fly from. You've got real world images and data that is stored. Well, Microsoft has a fairly large database that comes with the Microsoft Flight Simulator itself, and it has stored substantial amounts of scenery, and the scenery is dynamic, so that it gets drawn as you fly. It's almost as if you're flying in the real world. Everything is, all the buildings are somewhat correct. There may be some small discrepancies, but most people wouldn't notice them. For the most part, it's very realistic. You can go into a city, and if you've been around a few places and know a few cities, you can be in here flying around a city, and you'll be able to identify that city just by its landmarks and the different buildings and things that you see, and you know where the river may be or whatever might be around for identifying features. Very realistic. It's actually something I had done a lot of before actually flying in the real world. I flew a lot in flight sims, so that actually did help me when it comes to flying in the real aircraft. I mean, everything that I had done in the flight sim was accurate to what would be done in the real world, with the exception of, you know, when you're in the airplane, you actually feel the acceleration and all that stuff, and the G-forces, you know, if you're doing a sharp turn or whatever, or you know, pulling the aircraft up to a higher height faster than you should. You feel all the G-force and everything, which you don't do when you're in the flight sim on the computer, obviously. But this one here, I've got set up just basically sitting stationary on a chair. I don't actually have any movement. I'm not in an imitation aircraft or anything like that. But I may do that at some point. I've got the means to probably set something like that up. But I just want to show you here some of the equipment that I've got right now. All of this is not hooked up. I'll show you which ones are hooked up. But what you need is you need a computer, and you need Microsoft Flight Simulator, and then you need some input devices. Here's a yoke. They refer to this as a yoke, which is basically similar to a joystick. Some aircraft, smaller aircraft, sport aircraft would have a joystick instead of a yoke. But the one that I flew actually had a yoke. It was more of a passenger type aircraft. It held as many as 4 people, I believe, and then a little bit of luggage in the back. So it had a back seat in it, and a very small back seat, but it did have a back seat. And the model of the aircraft was Piper Warrior. And you can actually go in here and choose your different types of aircrafts too when you go into the Microsoft Flight Simulator. The only thing is, right now, currently in the version that I have, I don't have the Piper Warrior, but I'm going to see if I can download it and set it up so that when I do a recording of some of the flights that I had done in the specific areas that I had flown, like Grimsby, Ontario was one place that I had flown a few hours, and I had flown a few hours in Welland Airport. Welland Airport was in Ontario, and Grimsby was actually, where was Grimsby? Man, I forget. I totally forget. I flew in Grimsby, around Grimsby, I know that. And actually, Grimsby is where I lived, and Welland was a short distance away. So I flew, the aircraft I flew when I lived in Grimsby was in Welland Airport, which was probably 10 to 15 miles outside of Grimsby. The other one that I had flown in was when I was in the U.S., when I was in Indiana. I actually had flown in Indiana, and I can't recall the name of that airport right off the bat, but I'll look it up, and once I have it, I'll show you. I can go into the flight sim, locate both of those airports, and fly out of each one of those airports, and basically trace my routes that I had flown when I had actually done it in the real world, if I want to, so I can give you guys a real good representation of what I'd done. And then, of course, I could do things like I could show you spins and stalls and stuff like that, too, that I had to do as well. I've done these already in the simulator just to see if, after I learned how to do them in the real world, just to see if they were anywhere close to real feeling in terms of immersion and stuff like that. It's quite realistic, especially doing a spin. When you're doing a spin and you're doing it's kind of like spiral towards the ground. I did that when I was at the airport here in Canada. It was in Ontario, like I said, just outside of Grimsby, Welland Airport. Here in Canada, they teach you how to stall the aircraft and spin it. And they had the pilot, the young fellow that was showing me how to fly, teach me how to fly, actually did one while I was in the aircraft, explained how it was done, and then he let me try it as well. So I actually did have an opportunity to do a stall and a spin and then recover from it. And we did that starting at 3,000 feet. So we're 3,000 feet above the ground when we did the stall and spin, which was a little scary to me because I figured we need a lot more room than that to recover, but we didn't. We had lots of room to recover, and I think if anything had happened, we wouldn't have had room to recover the second time. But personally, I would think doing a stall or a spin, you'd want to go up to 10,000, 12,000 feet, but apparently not, because we did it at 3. So anyway, I can replicate that, give you guys an idea what that was like, and a few other things as well, takeoff, landing, go-arounds, stuff like that. Give you some general idea of some of the rules that you got to follow while you're learning how to fly and once you become a pilot. I was trying to get my license as a sport pilot. They call it in the United States, and here they call it recreational pilot. And it requires 25 hours before you can do your first solo. And if you pass your first solo, then you can write the exam and become a licensed pilot. I had 17 hours total flying at the two places combined in the United States and here in Canada. I've got a total of 17 under my belt right now. So I need a little more before I could actually get my license. But pretty expensive hobby at the time. Quite a few years ago, I was paying $145 an hour, and doing that maybe twice a week if things went well. Sometimes just once a week. But it was $145 an hour. Here, I would expect, that's 145 US. So 145 US, you go back to Canada, you're going to add more onto that, right? So we're probably looking at $200 an hour or more to go learn to fly here in Canada right now, I would expect. I haven't checked into it, but I may check into it at some point. I would like to try that again. I'd like to see if I could actually get my license as a, here they call it a recreational pilot. That'd be pretty cool. You can fly there. You can fly if you have that, you can fly a single prop aircraft, fixed prop. It can't be one with variable pitch. And anything with one prop, you can fly. So I mean, if it seats 4, I can take 3 passengers with me. If it seats 6, I can take 5 passengers with me. Whatever the case may be, as long as it's a single prop aircraft. The only thing about having just the recreational license is that you can't fly at night. You can't fly if the weather is, the visibility is bad. It's basically just they call it VFR, visual flight reference. Can't fly unless you're able to see well. So if you have a lot of fog, a lot of clouds, and there's ratings, the weather station will rate it, or will tell you what the weather is, and the airports will rate that weather, whether it's VFR or if it's IFR. IFR is instrument flight reference. You can fly pitch dark. If you can't see a damn thing, as long as you know how to fly using the instruments, you can fly. But you have to have a commercial license to do that. You can't do that with recreational license. But I mean, that's okay. I wouldn't want to be flying around at night anyway. I mean, I'd be want to doing it in the daytime. Just same as I don't like to ride my motorbike after night much, right? It's better, safer to do it in the daytime. But I actually have had a chance to fly after dark. I got to the airport fairly late, close somewhere to the fall. Where actually was it the fall or summer? I think it was the fall. Yeah, where just before time had changed, so it was getting dark fairly early. So I got to the airport, got in with the pilot, got into the aircraft, took off, and flew a little bit, and it got dark before we landed. So I did have the opportunity to learn how to turn on the lights on the airport runway. It was an unmanned airport. In other words, there was no tower, nobody in the tower. At that point of the day, or that point of the evening, I guess, it was just myself and him. Everybody else had gone home, and he was the last one there to go in and lock up once we were finished. So that left us to basically come in, turn the lights on the landing strip, land the aircraft, park it, and then of course I bid him farewell and went home, and he did his thing, closing up and all that stuff. So I did have the opportunity to land after dark, fly a little bit after dark, and also had the opportunity to fly in winter too. I actually landed on an airstrip that had some ice and snow on it. It was pretty good amount of ice and snow, so it was actually pretty cool. I got to experience a few things that a lot of people would get to experience, and it's quite interesting. I did enjoy it. But I don't want to make this video too long here talking about that. We can throw all kinds of comments in as we go. But what I'm going to do is try to record this directly off my PC. Well, if I set my flight sim up right now on my PC, I can set it up on 3 monitors. And I can have a left view looking out the left window, right view looking out the right window, and one looking straight ahead, and have them all synced up. So when I'm flying, you know, I can actually, it looks like I'm looking out my left or right, whatever the case may be, which is a pretty good setup. And I'll show you that here in a few minutes. But once I go into the application and start running it off the computer and trying to broadcast it or save it into a video for you guys, it's only going to take the front center view. It's not going to take the left and right view, because I just tried it, and the OBS software, open broadcasting software, or open broadcasting, whatever that's being used to record that directly, won't show. Won't be able to show you all 3 monitors at once. You're only going to see one. I could take a little bit of a view with my camera here. I could set that up, and maybe I might even do that. That might be better. The only thing is, I have to set up a good set of speakers to onto the computer so that you actually hear the aircraft sounds. The other way, it directly records the aircraft sounds. But so anyway, I'll set up a little more here, and once I got it set up, I'll show you a few more things, and then we'll spin off a few videos to give you some idea what that was like. Till then, peace out.